Welcome back to my next playthrough series. This time we're playing Zona. We're playing it solo, which is a little bit different than playing it 2 to 4 players. There is a board that has a solo side and a 2-player side, and you flip the board over, and it has a 3 and 4 player side. We will get into how the game plays as we play it. For setup, there are 4 different secret locations, and they have a bunch of cards all pre-shuffled here that I've shuffled off screen before we started. We have tokens to get into these facilities. It's a post-apocalyptic game. The gist of the game is we have so many turns to get over here to the sarcophagus, which is at the power plant, the Chernobyl power plant, and figure out the source, which is what we're trying to do. We have encounter decks, we have artifacts, we have items, we have a marketplace, we've got anomalies and monstrosities out on the board. All kinds of crazy stuff's going to happen. I think we might just get into the game. We're going to take a look at our character. I'm playing solo, so I'm playing with the scientist. The game comes with 10 characters already, which is actually pretty fantastic. And I've done the setup, so we're going to take a look at our character. The character, each one comes with 4 specific starting items that you get for each character. And I'm not going to go through the setup of the board per se. On the back of your character sheet, it tells you where you start. So our character starts at White Lake here. And we'll get into the iconography and how everything works. So out here we have a Black Hound mutation out in Chernobyl, and we have a bunch of other things on the board. If we get there, we will deal with them. We have a turn tracker, which is up here, which is the end of every round. We're going to go ahead and do that. Well, again, I'll explain how everything works as we play the game. It's relatively complex, but not so complicated. We won't be able to figure it out as we play. Will I get all the rules correct? I don't know. I don't think so. I probably never do that on my playthroughs, but we're going to try our best. And so, let's take a look at our starting character, the scientist, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at everything that we need to look at for her. And then I think we're going to get into playing the game. We'll go through the different phases, play the game, we'll get a first turn in here, and you can see how it works. So let's take a look at the scientist. Okay, so here we have our starting solo character, the scientist. She starts with 200 rubles, which is not a lot of money. She starts off with a modified detector. Now there's icons here. This is observation. For anomalies, we can use it. There's little triangles here. I'll explain how all this stuff works when we use it. Basically, you can use it once. If you use it a second time, you discard it. It's out of the game. But you can go to bunkers. There are 3 bunkers in the game. There's the roadhouse, the research station, and the village. And in the bunkers, you can pay money to have your equipment repaired. Some of them are one-shot pieces of equipment. This one here, the energy drink, you use it once, and it's discarded. It can either give you a strength test or an idea test, or smarts I think it's called. She also has some chocolate. Once again, it's just a one-use item. Eat some chocolate, you get a plus to your observation of anomalies or your smarts for an anomaly. And this little symbol here means you can roll, you can get rid of a negative roll on a dice. I know, a lot of explaining here. Our starting character starts off with 1 damage already because she's been out in the wastes doing things. And she also has the NBC suit, which is kind of like a little gas mask suit. And the little icon here, I'm not sure how well that's showing up, shows that it's for head and body. You can get other items for like your arms and legs and such, and you can stack them and use them. This one here, so this will let you, if you use it, you can prevent a radiation damage and a just a wound damage. There's 3 types of damage. There's mental, physical, and radiation damage. All kinds of stuff going on in the game. And you have 5 backpack slots, and you have a bonus backpack slot. If the item has the symbol on it, it can fit over here as a bonus item. There are also items that don't take up any slots. And then there are dice for rolling your checks. And the dice have a blank side. They have 2 positive sides, 2 negative sides, and this symbol. If ever you're doing a test and you roll these 2 symbols together, you're going to take a damage. And we'll get into how all this works as we play. We also have a fatigue meter. It starts at 1. You can use 1 fatigue to re-roll 1 of your dice on 1 test. And we can refresh this if we do a rest break and such. We're going to take a look at this card here. This kind of encapsulates the game very quickly. And I'm not going to go through it all, but it'll show you how everything works. We're going to zoom down on that. And then we're going to take a look at the marketplace and see what's available. If we can get into one of those bunkers and do a camp action, we can also purchase some stuff at the marketplace, keeping in mind we only start with 200, and that's not good. Oh, and on the bottom of your items, it shows you what their sell value is. So if I sell the modified detector, I can get 400 rupees for it, 200 for the chocolate, 200 for the energy drink, and 400 for the suit. All right, let's take a look at that turn order sort of summary card and dissect it a little bit. Alright, so this is the player card that comes with the games for them for a 4-player game. So we have an action phase, then we have an event phase, then we have a rumor phase, and that's how the game works, rinse and repeat. So what can we do? On our action phase, we get 2 actions. We can move to an adjacent location. You must resolve an encounter if you move to a location with a threat token. Okay, that's pretty obvious. A local action, maximum 1, perform this action of your current location. Locations have actions you can perform, pretty much every one of them. Open a secret location. There's 4 on the board, so to open one, you have to fulfill the requirement and open a secret location adjacent to you. I'll show you that here, how that works when we get playing the game. And we can have an encounter. If you're in a space with an anomaly or a mutant, you can resolve an encounter with a threat token at your current location, or you can just rest, which is decrease fatigue by 1, or you can pass to end your action phase. Then you can go do camping. And camping is decrease the fatigue value of your willpower, and then do the following any number of times in any order. You can pay 200 to heal the damage, pay 100 to repair a damage, sell an item, plus 100 per damage on the item. So less 100 rupees per damage on the item. Sell a mutant trophy. So if you take out an anomaly or a mutant, then you can sell that corpse for money, and you can buy 1 item from the marketplace board. Now camping has to be done at a bunker. There are 3 bunkers. There's the roadhouse, like I said, research station, village. You have to be in the bunker to actually do a camp action. You can't just camp anywhere. Then we get to the rumor phase. And then we advance the emission track by the rumor card value. You'll see how that works when we do our first turn here in a minute. And resolve the emission marker, the final space of the emission track. Resolve the emission if the emission is on there. Voice of Zona you don't use in single player game, but for single player rules, we'll take a quick look at those as well. Any bad thing that happens, of course, happens to the single player, which will be our scientist. And then refresh the deactivated items. Some items can be used over and over once per turn, and then they can refresh and be used again for the next turn. So that's what that means. And then the rumor phase. After that, we have emission. So if an emission happens, you do all things. If you're in a location with a bunker, if you're adjacent to a bunker, you can spend 2 fatigue to basically go into the bunker. Scavengers not in a bunker receive damage on the emission card. You'll see how that works. All anomalies and mutants are removed from the board. New ones are placed according to the scheme on the emission cards. And marketplace items are discarded in place of new ones. Lots to read. That's how that works. So let's take a look at all the iconography and all those exciting things in the game. For tests, we're rolling the 3 dice, which I've already showed you. And then you can force a test. You can take 1 fatigue to re-roll 1 of your dice. That symbol means you ignore 1 negative. The plus, of course, add 1 to the result. And I'm not going to read through all that, but then you have encounters. And these are all the icons in the game, and I'm not sure just how well that is scanning in there, but we have mutants, anomalies, green mutants, green anomalies, yellow mutants, yellow anomalies, green artifacts, yellow artifacts. I'm going to skip around the board a little bit here, show you a couple of the things, and then we're going to take our first turn and see how it goes. Alright, so in the bottom right-hand corner of the board, we have little spaces here for yellow artifacts and green artifacts. And we get those things from taking out anomalies and mutants and certain event cards stuff. Here's one of the secret locations, which is the government bunker. There's 4 around the board. There's also the Botanical Lab, the Mission Observatory, and the Underground Archive. And they have really cool art on them. So you have to be adjacent to it, and then you have to pass whatever this is. There's a bunch of these in the game. They're just randomly placed out. And each place for setup for solo game has 2 special items in it. So when we finally get in here, if we can get in here, passing the tests, we'll get to choose one of those to keep. And they're usually pretty awesome things. All right, let's scoot around the board, look at a couple other things. Of course, we have the yellow event deck, we have the green event deck, and they're huge. I think there's like 25 cards in each. Probably never going to get through them all. And what's neat about these cards, very much like Fallout, you have two specific locations that if you are in, you get a specific encounter. Otherwise, you get all other encounters. So you'll see that happen. All right, as soon as that happens, and right up here we have the sarcophagus. You have to get in there. That's the end game. But you have to actually have 2 of the secrets from the 4 locations to be able to unlock the sarcophagus and get in there. So you have to get into 2 of the secret locations first, successfully grab an item from in there to be able to even get to the sarcophagus. We're going to take a look at the little turn tracker thing up at the top. And because I'm a mile away, this is probably a little fuzzy, and I apologize, but we have a turn tracker here, so at the end of the turn, that's going to flip over, and we do what it says. So we'll follow the rules. When that happens, this other cards here will make sense when we use them. All right, now we're going to take a look at the marketplace that's been set up at the beginning of the game. All right, so here's the marketplace board, and we basically have junk items and equipment items. And they have different effects. So we have rations here, which is food. You can heal 3 wounds. Or no, sorry, 3 fatigue. Off of there, you've got a hunter's jacket, a filtered container, a shovel, and down here on the junk pile, we've got a looter jacket, energy drink, Russian cigarettes, and Cossack moonshine. So, and they give you different effects based on the cards. And over here are the stacks of enemies. Here we have the green mutants, green anomalies. We have the orange mutants and orange anomalies. You pull from the bottom, they're all shuffled up, and they get just put onto the board. Oh my goodness. All right, I think we're ready to kind of begin the game. Oh, I didn't talk about your status. You can be neutral, good, or bad. And on your player character card, you start out as neutral. It actually tells you how you start out on your player character. And so this would be if you're a good player. This is if you're a bad player, or bad reputation, I should say. And yes, oh my goodness, lots to go on in this game. So let's do a first turn and see how it works. All right, so our very first action, we're going to do the White Lake action. It basically says take a radiation damage, comma, and then we have to make an idea check, anomaly of 4. And if we pass that test, we get to gain an equipment item. So that's pretty cool. We're going to get out the dice tray. We're going to check our stats, and we're going to roll some dice, take our damage first, and then see if we can just go ahead over here in White Lake and acquire an equipment card. Alright, so we have our handy dandy NBC suit. So instead of taking the 1 damage, which would go on our character, we can actually use our suit to negate that radiation damage. So boom, we're going to put that on there. If we use our suit again, though, we're going to lose it. So we're probably going to have to go somewhere and repair it. But currently, we don't need to take the damage. The suit took the damage for us. And let's take a look at our idea ability and see where it is. Alright, so to actually get these correctly, this is alertness, physique, smarts, and willpower. We're going to be testing our smarts. We have 4 right now, which is really good. And we're going to be rolling the 3 dice. See what we get. Let's get to the board, roll them up. And we need 4 successes. So if we can somehow get a couple of pluses or maybe just all blanks, we will succeed, and then we will be able to just grab ourselves an equipment card. It's dice tray time. All right, let's see what we get. We'll roll up our 3 dice, and perfect. So we get 2 blanks, which don't do anything, modifying. We get +1, so we actually have 5 successes for that test, which means we go ahead and grab ourselves an equipment card. And that equipment card, so this is the equipment deck, so we just grab the top card off the equipment deck. And let's see what we found by doing that test. And we found an anomaly detector. So basically we can use this a couple times and then repair it. Electronics, you can sell it for 500 rubles. If we're doing an observation check on an anomaly, we just get an automatic plus if we use it. Now, you can use your items and cards after you roll the dice, so you don't need to spend it first. So we're going to go ahead and put that in our backpack. Cool, so now we've got 1 backpack space left. And I should say, if the dice really went haywire for us and bad, we can spend a fatigue to re-roll 1 of them. And we did have some things that we could have mitigated the rolls, like we have chocolate here. We could have done an idea or a smarts test against anomaly, and we could have got rid of a negative die roll. But we didn't need to use our chocolate, so we just keep that in the backpack. Right on. So we picked up an anomaly detector. All right, what are we going to do for our second action? I think we're going to move. Alright, our character's pretty weak. We're just starting out. We don't have a lot of stuff going on with us. We're in a yellow zone. We don't really want to have a yellow encounter. So we're going to do our one movement across the checkered line here. We're going to move on over to the barracks, which gets us into the green zone so that we get into the next part of the phase, which is the event phase. We're going to be drawing a green event, which is usually not nearly as horrible as the yellow events. So that's the next part of our turn, is we draw the top card of the green event deck and we see what it is. And if we're at the quarry, we're going to do this. If we're at the barracks, we do this. And if we're at any other location. So we're going to be looking at the barracks. Alright, so as not to spoil the rest of the card, let's just take a look specifically at the barracks. As the army tried to take some mutants alive, bold but foolish. 2 of the cages are empty, their bars bent from the inside. Place 2 green mutant tokens at this location. Choose one and resolve the encounter. Oh, great. So a bunch of mutants have escaped. We're going to have to grab 2 of them, stick them on the board, and we get to choose which one we have to encounter. This could get ugly. Alright, so I reach into the tray here, and we're going to grab out 2 green mutants, and we just grab them from the bottom after they're shuffled. And that's where we're going to get them from. We're going to take a look at them, and we'll see what they are. So we have either rats or a meat hog. So we get to look at the back of these. I'm going to put these down, we're going to take a look at them, and we get to decide which one we want to encounter. Alright, here we have rats and the meat hog. So we have observation 2, observation 1, we have fight 2 and fight 2. They're both actually not bad. It says after the observation test you automatically suffer 1 wound. Okay, and the wild meat, after defeating the meat hog, you may suffer 1 wound to reclaim 3 fatigue. Well, we're not gonna need to do that. This one you automatically suffer 1 of those damages. We can lose our NBC suit, or we can just take a damage. That's horrible. And to sell it's worth 200. This one's worth 300. I think we're going to go ahead and attack the meat hog. So we're going to put the rats, we're going to leave them out on the board, and we're not attacking. Actually, the first thing we need to do is an observation. We need 1 success. We have 2 already. Let's roll up the dice and see if we can get 1 success. Alright, we're just looking for 1 success. We already have 2 because we have 2 observation on our character. So let's see what we get for a roll. Oh, no! Okay, this is all bad. This gives us -1, which is fine because we still have 1. And the other 2, now if you roll 2 of those symbols together, you take a damage. But we are going to go ahead and spend 1 fatigue to re-roll 1 die. So we're going to re-roll 1 of those because we don't really want to take a damage. And it's a blank. So that's actually good. So we end up with a -1, and 1 of these by itself is just a blank. So we have 2 observation, -1 is 1. If we take a look at our card, we needed 1 to pass. Check mark, so we're not going to take the damage, which would have been bad. Now we can fight it and keep this as a trophy that we can sell for 300. Or at this point, because we passed our observation test, we can just run away and say, you know what, we're not dealing with this. And then, boom, we run away and the token goes back on the board. But I think we're going to try to take it on. Do we have anything? Yes, we do. We have Energy Jinx. So, if we take a look at it, we need 2 successes on fight to defeat it. If we don't defeat it, we're going to take 2 damage, 1 radiation damage, 2 physical damage. Yikes. So let's see if we can get 2 and beat the meat hog. Let's get out our dice tray. And again, we have 2 physical attack already. So if we can just draw blanks here, you have to meet or exceed the number to have a success. And there we go. Boom, we got 1 negative and canceled out by the positive. 2 successes. We actually have 3 successes. We successfully defeat the meat hog. And so we grab this as a trophy. We're not going to take any damage because we have defeated it. So that's very cool. And now we can keep it as a trophy. Trophies don't take up any space per se. And we can sell it now in a bunker for, if this will focus, for 300 ruples. Boom! So that just kind of goes on the side of our character. And we now have a trophy. That was the event phase happening. And of course, after the event phase, we have the rumor phase, which means advance the emission track by the rumor card value, resolve the emission marker if it's at the final space, which it will not be, but we do have to do a rumor now up to the very top of the board, and we're going to flip that over. And because this is a mile away, I will be zooming down on the card a while ago. So for as far as the setup went too, we had to remove 5 of these cards from the deck. So there's 21 of them, less 5, we're down to 17. So we basically have 17 turns. So we're going to take a look at this and see what it is. It does not have the clock symbol on it, so it's not going to be like a permanent thing sitting out here. But we do see here we have 1 of the symbols. And so what we do is we move this track down to the 1 spot. If it ever gets down here to this spot, the emission happens and there's a big radiation blast that just covers the entire land. And you do not want to be out in the open. You want to be in either one of the special locations, you want to be in a bunker, or the sarcophagus. If you're anywhere else, you're in big trouble. Alright, let's zoom down on this card and see what it says. Alright, so let's read. It says, unlucky mutant, a short life of a particular mutant. It says, remove 1 mutant token from the board, then replace it with an anomaly token. If there are no mutant tokens on the board, choose 1 location and just place 1 anomaly token. Okay, so we're just swapping out, say, like a green mutant for a green anomaly, an orange mutant for an orange anomaly, anywhere on the board. We can do that right with the rats, I think, if we want. So, I don't know. Let's, we're just going to pick 1 location. We actually have 2, we've got 3, we have 4 mutants on the board, no anomalies right now. Oh, sorry, we have 1 anomaly. Alright, let's go ahead and just do this card. So that's basically what happens. So this will get discarded. And we will be doing that right now. Alright, so I've decided to take the Black Hound, who's hanging out in Chernobyl. He's an orange mutant, and we're just going to dump him off into the orange mutant category, and we're going to grab an orange anomaly and shove it in there, and we don't know what the heck that is. It's Ivan's Grip. And unfortunately, one of my boards was punched a little incorrectly. So if you look at the back of that, stuff is cut off, and I've had to keep the punch-out sheet so that we can figure out what it is. So basically, mutant has been replaced by an anomaly. And that is going to be the end of our playthrough for today. So you kind of see how the game works. I'm going to zoom out. We're going to wrap up. And there you have it. Zona Solo. And we are, yeah, we're just barely beginning. We got $200, we've got 1 wound, we've got, you know, you can see the progression of the game, how it works. So basically the idea is we have to get in either here, here, or the top 2 secret locations by doing whatever this says. These are randomized, and then we get to grab 1 of these cards. Once we complete 2 of the adventures basically in those locations by getting into them, then we can head to the sarcophagus, and we have to defeat the sarcophagus adventure without dying to win the game. And we only have, of course, so many turns to do it. And that's Zona. That's how you play it. So we're going to continue on, of course. As soon as I can get it, the next playthrough up, we'll be doing another turn. I think I'm going to do 1 turn an episode. It seems to be pretty good. We did an introduction this time, so it's a bit longer. But it seems like we're going to tap out around maybe 15-20 minutes an episode. So thanks so much for watching along. Thanks for your comments, subscriptions, and likes. This is Zona, the secret of Chernobyl, and we're trying to get over here to the sarcophagus and get the source as the scientist. Stay alive, of course, and we'll see what happens. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time for the continuation, Zona, the secret of Chernobyl.